Welcome back to our company podcast as we bring you part 2 of my conversation with Dave Marcinkowski, one of our founding partners, and Dave Gilles, our Chief Executive Officer. In part 1, we started the discussion of community and what it means for us to care for one another, what it means for us to be a people who are driven for community, that we are truly interconnected in more ways than we even know. We understand, and we hope you are beginning to understand, that no man is an island. Here is part 2. Hope you enjoy.
We understand that not everyone's going to like all of their coworkers or everyone that's in their community. It's just that's not realistic. But what is realistic is you will respect that person or other person's opinions or views. And what you'll find, if you approach everyone with respect, you start to grow. Yeah. You start to learn because you can see it in a different light. And that's what I would also encourage, is that you're respectful to everyone in your community.
Sure. I think in that vein, and I think this is a big part of it, and you two know me well enough, at least now, the last few months, to know that I want to humanize you because that's what we are. And so I'd love for you to talk for just a little bit about the times and different experiences in your life where you have experienced real community and what that meant to you, and then also times where maybe you missed it and didn't have it, or how. Because I think you talk about the various people that are hurting. We've got people across Texas that are hurting. Okay, we just went through a crazy snowstorm and all the stuff that happened in February where people were hurting. And you talk about the last year with COVID and all the nuts, the nutty things that have happened with that. Community is a huge conversation, and so we long for it, and sometimes we see it and you're like, oh, that's the best, and then at other times it's like, oh, I'm missing it. So give me a little bit of your story with that and how you connect with those things. And I know I just asked a huge question, so whoever goes first is really risking.
Yeah. So it's certainly COVID. March 16th, whatever date that was, it was somewhere right around March 16th of 2020 that the world changed, and we sort of recognized it was changing quickly. I was proud of how we responded early in the COVID crisis. I'm glad the worst is behind us. I still think there's a lot of healing that needs to happen, or a lot of engagement that needs to come back. And just to go back to the organizational structure, we really were changing that structure January of 2020. So in a way, we're still like 2 months into it, because COVID threw everything that was normal out of normal. Yeah. And so it was more about how do we function in a new world versus how do we get organized around a new structure in 2020. So look for us to do a lot more stuff around the structure, a lot more defining around the structure, so there's more clarity for folks to understand. But it also took away from us that personal interaction and Zoom calls and those types of things. Yeah, it's great if that's all you have, but there's nothing that supplants a face-to-face conversation where you can feel someone's energy, you can understand if they're feeling pain or if they're those types of things, and you can be empathetic and you can have that relationship. And that goes the same with our vendors. I think our vendors were maybe more locked down than us because we were a lot of us were essential employees. Now, corporate to community, that lacked our touch points, and that'll be a big focus over this year. Now that we're beyond that, is really connecting back with our communities, seeing what's really impacting them on a day-to-day basis, and how do we help them.
Yeah. Dave, you talk about that. Tell us.
Well, let's say COVID, and I have a lot of examples of this. Times where we felt really good about something, and times where we fell short or are falling short right now. But COVID was a great example of a time where I felt really proud of our group and that community spirit. There were a lot of people reacting during COVID, especially early on, and making decisions based off of what was best for the company.
Yeah, I think we saw a lot of our residents were in a different position than they've ever been. And it would have been easy for us as an organization to focus on the people trying to take advantage of us as a corporation or take advantage of the situation, which we knew were out there. We chose to say, those people are going to do what those people are going to do. We need to focus on the people that are in a position that they've never been in before. How do we help them?
Well, and I think this is a good place to plug this, simply because you're talking about the places of pride. If by the time you get to listen to this episode, we will have released our newsletter, our new e-newsletter, and we're going to get a chance to celebrate in that newsletter the Dallas-Fort Worth region, and of course Houston's coming in the next month, and we're going to do everything we can to celebrate people.
To be completely transparent and to be very vulnerable, I think an area that we fall short on is diversity, especially at the leadership level. This isn't something that we just kind of brush under the rug and hope nobody sees it. I'm sure there's people listening to this who are asking themselves that question. If I was to tell our folks anything, it would be to say, this is something that we know we should be better at. And we're going to continue to look for opportunities to do that. And I think as Madera and Quex and anything else that we touch grows, those opportunities are going to exist. And that's the beauty of, go back to Kenai. One of the things about Kenai is growth. We are a rapidly growing company. We talk about organizational chart. We've got huge holes right now we know of. And as we grow, there's going to be more and more positions. There's going to be more and more opportunity for people to advance within our organization. And we are excited to be able to offer that to people who work with us today, and also to attract folks from other industries to come work with us to make our community that much better.
So you introduce a really important word there, and I love the way that you talk about diversity and bring that in and start talking about areas for us to grow in. Dave, why don't you jump in there and kind of talk about what you want and what you desire for the diversity, both for people to be growing and up and coming within the company, but also like what you're talking about, going beyond even and bringing more people in. What do you think with that?
Yeah, I think the first thing I want to talk about, Josh, is certainly to get to the level you want to be at, you have to acknowledge that you want to get there, and you have to have a plan to get there. So we have brought on in the last within the last 6 months a new leader in our HR area, and he is really helping us focus on that, helping us align our goal of getting more diverse with the talent needs that we have. I will say that what we strive to do and aspire to attain is growth from within. And I'll just tell you my background. I told you I was in public accounting for 17 years, 19 years. My first job out of college actually led me to where I am today. I was hired in public accounting, as I said, and switched to the cable industry in 2000. Well, ironically, that was because people I had worked with at the public accounting firm actually started Charter Communications.
Okay.
And so I was then hired over. So I bring that up because when I started as a new guy out of college, I was a farm boy, right? None of my aunts or uncles, none of my parents worked in an office. And my first job, I was going to be the best whatever I was assigned to be. If that was a copier, if that was stapler, I was going to do that. And that led 10 years later to an opportunity in another whole nother industry for me. And I would just say we need to pay attention to people that are doing the little things correctly, because we don't need to hire people for the talent they possess. We would like to hire people or promote people for their energy that they bring, their attention to detail, their willingness to do things out of their comfort zone, their willingness to help and be a good teammate.
Yeah.
Those are the people that I want to see moving up through our ranks. And if we can get that to happen, we're going to have our diversity, because we're very diverse at our community level. I'm very proud of how diverse we are at the community level. We need that to come up through the organization, fill critical roles for us. It also fulfills the need that we have both on the Madera side, but maybe even more so on the Quex side. You know, our Quex tagline is that we're built for operators by operators. And you'll start to see us snag some talent on the Madera side and plug it in over at the Quex side, because we truly want to live that motto. Mm-hmm. We want to be fully understanding and have the talent of an operator sitting at Quext.
Yeah.
I've had, is Madera, Quext, and these other things we're doing, is it for everybody? Is everybody invited to play with us and be a part of it? And the answer is yes. But it comes with some conditions. We want to be very inclusive. But these values, the things that Dave and I are talking about, and you're talking about right now, this is who we are as a group. It doesn't mean that you have to drink the Kool-Aid and be a part of a cult. It just means that you have to be able to appreciate and respect those values and willing to work within those values. And the beauty of it is that they don't put a box around you. What these things do is they tear down walls. If your values are good, they're going to tear down all the walls, which is scary in that you've got to step out and do something that maybe isn't very comfortable. But if you do that, then we believe very strongly you're going to have success. And then as these doors open up for more growth within our organization, which we want to have an endless amount of growth in our organization for our people. When people step into our company, they go, "Hey man, I started there, but look where I am today."
Yeah.
We want that to be available for everybody.
Yeah, and if you embrace those two, it's not, it's success, but I often say it's true satisfaction. There is no other way for me, and I know you're kind of wired the same way, and Josh, you strike me as the same person. Personal success is hard to celebrate. Team success is really easy to celebrate and really fun and extremely satisfying. When you know you're part of a team that accomplished something, that's meaningful. I mean, if you do something on your own and it's just you, who are you going to celebrate with?
Right.
It's really difficult to celebrate a personal success, but the team success, it's just awesome.
Well, and there's a beauty to what you're saying with that. I don't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
No.
Go. What I was going to say in that conversation was, and I think our culture sometimes feeds us this idea that if we don't take care of ourselves, nobody else will. And yet that's the exact opposite of the cultural value stuff that we desire for our community
That's
here.
exactly right.
And the point being that when one person steps forward, the team takes a step forward. And everybody is doing well in that conversation.
I grew up in a small town, and there's pros and cons to small towns. One is everybody knows what you're doing. That's the pro. The con, everybody knows what you're doing. But I often thought, in a small community, there are a lot of good things, but one of the negative ones was everyone thought they were competing with each other. Mm-hmm. No, there is so much opportunity out there, and don't think you're in competition with the next person. Help the person around you succeed, because that's going to help you succeed. There are so many opportunities for you to grow inside of Madera or Quex. It's not limited.
Thank you for having watched or listened to this second piece of the community conversation, one of our core values with the Daves. We believe in the value of community, that camaraderie can be experienced, and that it is of utmost value. We can't wait to give you the final piece of this episode. It'll be on its way shortly to you. Thank you for listening or watching to Touch Base.